Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Perform Happy podcast. My guest today is Jessie Duke McDonough, a former Utah gymnast who is now the co-head coach at Olympus Gymnastics. She's helped many young gymnasts make it to D1 colleges. She's got a lot of successful gymnastics coaching along with gymnastics herself. And I'm excited to have you here to share your experience. Welcome to the show, Jessie.
Thank you. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
Good.
I always enjoy getting a chance to talk to a coach who has a reputation as a good coach, but not just a winning coach, a good coach who coaches the humans. So I'd love to, before we dive too far into that, I'd love to hear a little bit about your background as an athlete and kind of what brought you to coaching.
Um, well, from the very beginning, I started gymnastics in Florida when my family lived there. I went to a gym called Brown's Winter Park. I don't know what it is now, but it was a super small gym. My family relocated to Utah when I was 9, and I just so happened to move to the city where Olympus Gymnastics was. And that's where I started up again and stayed there for all my club years. After that, went to Utah for 4 years. I loved my experience there, had the best 4 years of my life, like they say, and kind of like got backed into a corner with my job after college. Like, wasn't sure what I was going to do. I kind of needed I was like, oh, I'll just start coaching to make money and then figure it out. I did not want to coach team. Coached at a club up near where I lived by the university. And when I got the job, I was like, I do not want to coach team. I'll coach rec, I'll do camps, I'll help, but I don't want to get into it too far. And they desperately needed a level 5 coach. And that's where I got the bug. I was able to coach some really, really, at the time I didn't realize like how great of a team it was, but ended up coaching Missy Marlowe's daughter, Milan Clausy. She was like 8, and then another girl, Haley Hoffman, who ended up at Stanford doing gymnastics. So I mean, kids that like actually ended up moving forward in the sport as far as you can go, for the most part. And I loved it. I just was like, wow, this is fun. Like, you help out the girls and they go shine on the competition floor. And after a year, I just was like, you know what? I should go back and coach at Olympus. I love Olympus. It has, my whole heart. And that's where I've been since 2009.
Awesome. And now if we can go back to your gymnastics career for just a minute, I'd love
Mhm.
to know what kind of coaching brought out the best in you.
I think no matter how, you know, hard the coach was on me, or someone who maybe was an assistant who was more of like the helper coach, it was just someone who I knew believed in me. And that's hard to, describe, but I feel like most of my coaches, I mean, all of them, I didn't have one coach who I feel like didn't believe in me and didn't, reward my efforts. I I think that's the most important thing, is for a kid to feel that. And sometimes that's hard. Sometimes you can work as hard as you can to get a kid to believe in themselves, or, and then it just takes so much longer for whatever reason in them, that they just need a longer time to trust themselves and to trust you. But I feel like I just trust pretty easily. And all of my coaches back in Florida, my first coaches at Olympus, and all the way through college too, just like knowing that they believed in my efforts, and that whatever happened after that, you know, was what it was. I think that was the best coaching for me, and that's what it was. I mean, I really didn't have a bad experience, which is really lucky.
I know, isn't it unfortunate that sort of I've heard many athletes like I just talked to Danusha Francis and she was
Mhm.
like, I feel kind of bad. I just had really nice coaches. I feel it's almost like survivor's guilt in our sport if you have a nice
Yeah.
coaching experience.
Yeah. And I mean, I wouldn't say it was easy. I definitely was coached out of maybe the old school method, but it didn't bother me. It didn't bother me. I knew the expectations. I was a very obedient kid, which I think it now that I coach is so, so rare that a kid just doesn't question things. Um, and it's good to question things. Like I wish I did a little bit, but it didn't bother me, the demands that were put on me. And I felt comfortable in, you know, the tough environment that it was. And I'm thankful that, my mindset was okay enough to get through it. And yeah, I mean, I'm sure I could talk about some of the negative, but I just overall I'm super thankful. I'm super thankful for all of my coaches, and all the experiences that I had all through
Yeah.
my career.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting. A lot of sort of the quote unquote old school coaching really praised mental toughness. And I'm going to use the word compliance, but it's sort of, the
Yeah.
kid who just says, sir, yes, sir, and gets up and does their
Yeah.
job. And I think that's something that, yeah, it's great to have. And where do you think that source of mental toughness came from in you that allowed you to sort of not take it on personally? Or, what was the superpower that allowed you to find the gratitude and sort of thrive in that tough environment?
I definitely feel like I was raised to be grateful and to understand that I was a gymnast. I did gymnastics. It didn't define me. I had other things in my life that were important, although gymnastics, was very, very high up there. And I think having the parent support, honestly, my parents knew nothing about gymnastics till the day I was done with gymnastics. My dad would ask how my kips were going. Like they didn't know anything about it. And when I'd have a bad day, they'd just come home. I didn't say much, but when I did have a bad day, I was able to freely express myself. And they just be like, you know what, tomorrow's going to be better. They didn't put anything on it. They didn't blame. They didn't, you know, I think the only time they ever got upset was when I did get kicked out of gym once, and they were just like, I was mad at my coach, blaming it on my coach. And they were just like, you need to change your attitude. You need to have a better attitude about this. And that floored me. I thought that they would be on my side. This was when I was 17. I probably for once in my life stood up for myself and talked back. And um my parents were on my coach's side, like, no, you need to do what do your assignments, do what you've been told. You don't have that much longer there. um so I think just my parents not putting a lot on the bad days. If I did come home and talk about a coach, they would just be like, you know what, they probably had a bad day. That probably had nothing to do with you. You know, and that's kind of how I am now too. Like, if a parent complains or if, anything like that, I'm just like, they just need to be heard. They love their kid, and they just needed to talk to me. And that's, I'm sure life is hard sometimes, and you just got to support people. And yeah, I was super lucky in that regard where my family didn't make my career a big deal. It was just they were just like, you're so lucky to be doing this and that you have a great time and experience, and we'll do anything to support you. But I think that is so, so important.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and to have that unconditional love and support that gymnastics is not who you are, it's what you do. And then it sounds like they gave you kind of a big picture perspective
Yeah.
on the gratitude, your part in situations that are challenging, which I think is such a gift at it as a teenager to go, okay, this part's mine in this disagreement, and I'm going to own it. Even if it's
Hmm.
only 5% of the actual thing, this is the part I'm going to own. I'm going to find my gratitude. I'm going to do what's within my control. And then we're going to let go of the things that are
Hmm.
outside of our control. It seems like it's kind of where they were coaching you through life along those lines, which,
Yeah. I mean, like good day, bad day. There was never like a huge it was just like, great job. And then moving on to whatever we had going on that day. Or, you know what? It's one bad day. It'll be better tomorrow. Your coach probably not having the best day themselves. And I'm sure tomorrow it'll be a lot better, So
yeah.
I'm definitely lucky that I had that experience, as far as
Mhm.
my family support.
Yeah. I mean, it makes such a huge difference. And the fact that they were so hands off, I think can
Oh,
be
yeah.
really helpful. That they just
Yes.
feed you and hug you and help you find the life lessons. And that's what they do.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Now, so we talked about what worked best for you, which is finding coaches that really believed in you. And even it sounds to me like, and you had the perspective of finding that belief in them beneath their
Mhm.
words sometimes. And
Mhm.
that's usually with coaches are, going off on a kid. There's this typically this root of, I know what you're capable of and I
Mhm.
want that for you. It's just the words can sometimes come out and be hurtful or painful. What kind of coaching works best? So you've been doing this a long time, and I'm sure you've done it a certain way and changed and adapted. I know you're the kind of person who's always learning, but if you had to say what type of coaching works best for the athletes that you coach today, what is it?
I think, giving them a lot of choices, and holding, they know the expectation. They know, what they're there to do, but also, some kids aren't going to always do exactly what you say, and kind of giving them choices. uh Here's the assignment. I don't, I need this done. And please, clearly there's, like your series, this and this and this is the most important part, but not even having to say that, they just know. And hopefully they make the best decisions. And I kind of allow them to figure it out on their own until they really aren't doing what they're supposed to do. And I'm saying this as I coach level 8, 9s, and 10s. I don't coach compulsories where kind of they all have to do it together, to make sure kids do it or counting numbers correctly. But I coach, you know, kids who understand what their choices are. And some kids just think like they're going to get away with not doing certain skills, or they think I'm not watching. We have big groups, and I'm very, I get distracted. I get distracted. There's drills going on the floor, things going on up on the high beam, things going on the low beam, kids over there in the pit doing dismounts, like they're moving really fast. So I think certain kids just think they're avoiding, and they think that I don't know. And, I kind of let them do that. And once we start assignments, they're kind of seeing they're inconsistent compared to the rest. And I kind of finally have to pull them over and say, you know what? I You're not doing what you need to be doing every day. I'm giving you the same assignment as everyone else, and you don't do your series. I know you don't. Or if it's 5, you do 1 and then you stop. And if you want to be better, you need to do it. Like, I'm not going to make you do it, but you need to, like, you see what success is here. You see it. Um, Working hard here is popular. It's a popular thing at our gym to work hard. If you're not, it's almost the peer pressure of not if you're not, then you're going to be called out by your teammate. And so you see what is success. And if you don't want to do that, great. Good for you. Like, you're going to be the one that's suffering from this. But I really know that you can. I know that you can. It's okay if you fall. Setting an expectation, but also giving them room to make mistakes, whether it's choices or just falling all the time, like falling on assignments, not quite making the assignment, but doing their best to do it. I give so much of that, and I feel like that is really helpful. They don't feel shame maybe in mistakes. They feel like they laugh at it. And I think that's what works best when I feel like I get the best response, is kind of empowering them to make, you're good, you're going to do what you're going to do. And I'll help you along the way. I'll help you as much as I can, but you kind of need to figure it out on your own. And luckily we do have examples of, hardworking kids who on paper are successful, or even not, even they might not on paper as far as scores be successful, but they're the hardest working kid in the gym and they get a lot of attention for that. And I think emphasizing the characteristics that you want, like rewarding effort and rewarding, hey, you know what? This kid, you are the best teammate. And I so much appreciate that. I don't know where that kid's going to go, but as far as like value on our team, like that's the most valuable thing, is for us to have any kid like that, whether they do well like at a meet or not. That's, encouraging all the things that you would want and to work with anyone. I don't know if that answered your question, but
Yeah. Well, it's something that I think is so important for parents, is to let kids fail. And I'm not saying that you're doing this, that you're letting kids
yeah.
fail, but there's so much value in natural consequences in life.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the ones that fuel internal motivation, is when you make a choice, you get a consequence, and then you get to make your next choice accordingly. And those
Mm-hmm.
consequences can be positive or negative. So if you make a
Mm-hmm.
choice to go hit 10 series, even though you're scared or even though it's hard, and you like summon all of your strength and you get up and you do it, that consequence is you feel relief, you feel confidence, the next day you're fired up. Okay. Or you have the day where like your choices have led to, you didn't get enough sleep and you didn't plan well for homework and you didn't eat the right lunch and you're not telling somebody that your foot hurts, and all those choices are leading to this avoidance that's then leading to less success, less confidence.
Less
If
confidence
you're
is the main thing. For me, it's like, if they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing, then they're going to feel it and they're just not going to get the ball rolling with where they need to be. And, gymnastics is my life, but like at the end of the day, it's just gymnastics. Like, they're just flipping around. We're just having a good old time with it. So, to understand how to work through all of these things to gain confidence is just so important.
Yeah. And it also takes falling on your butt to get that
Yeah.
fire lit, to get you out of your comfort zone, to ask for help, to start communicating, to start asking for what you need, because you can't be reading the minds of 15 athletes at once. You can't do it. It's not possible.
Yeah. It's hard too at the, level 9 and 10. They're dealing, it's a lot of management of injury to, like, their body's hurting, they're sore, they have finals, they were sick last week. And how do I, a lot this year is, my kid's scared if they miss gym, they're not going to be able to compete this week. And I keep saying, it's about safety. It's not like a rigid rule where if they miss, like they will not compete. We want them to be safe at the meet. And sometimes if you're sick for so long and you don't train, your endurance isn't going to be good, and competing would just make things worse. But it's just like, they just they want to follow the rules, but I don't know. They just care so much.
Yeah. And life happens. And
Yeah, life happens.
Resilience is the hallmark of a champion more than
Mm-hmm.
perfection. It's like, it's
Mm-hmm.
the kid who just keeps getting back up and keeps trying again. But something that you've talked about when we've talked before is about the power of communication and the importance
Mm-hmm.
of communication and collaboration. And I love how you go, okay, this is what I'm setting out for you. This is the expectation. And you get choices how you want to attack this or what you've got today. Sometimes somebody's 100% isn't 100% today, and they can go and do what they need to do. And you're not going to shame them. You're not going to chastise them. You're not going to punish them. You sort of just let that all take its course. But how does communication play a role in your athlete relationships in your gym?
I think it's everything. I think it's the only way to, I know how to do it. As far as, building a relationship with them, knowing who they are outside of the gym, knowing about their family, asking them personal questions as much as possible while we're working, and them knowing about you too, as much as that's appropriate. I think it starts there, and then them understanding like, hey, I jam my foot on like on a couple vaults, it hurts to do my back tuck on beam and my beam dismount. Is there any way I can take that out today? Or them knowing like the days that are important, like the routine days, they know maybe they need to push through. It's safe to push through, but it hurts. And I really need to do floor today, like my floor routine. So I'm going to ask Jess, like I've tried to teach them, and I know they still struggle with it, to come up to me and say, hey, can I do 3 routines with everything and then take this out because it hurts? Sure. I rarely say no. Unless, hey, we have a meet in 2 weeks. You've never done a full routine. I'm just saying that. I'm letting you know that like you need to do a few routines before we do it, to be safe. And you can do that today. You can do that tomorrow and Thursday, or like giving them choices that way. Like, and not every kid is going to do every single number. It's just not realistic. So that making them comfortable with, talking to me. The worst thing I'm going to say is, no, you need to do half numbers, or I really rarely say no. There are times that I do watch a kid be kind of passive aggressive about something. Either I can tell they're sick, and I've talked to them several times. Hey, you know what? If your ankle hurts, if it's something I know that will not hurt them in the long run, if it's like a hamstring, no. If it's, a back, no. But if they've jammed their foot and it's been looked at and it just hurts, like it's not going to make it worse. And I've talked to them several times. I'll just sit there and watch. Like, are they going to do this passive aggressive thing all day where they fall off the beam and make a face? And, about halfway in, I'll tell one of the teammates, the older teammates, like, you know what, maybe can you go talk to this girl and tell her she's very welcome to come talk to me? Or I'll go up to them and say, hey, you can be done. No, I'm fine. Okay, then no more faces. We're not going to do the faces. If your foot's not hurting, you don't need to limp. But I feel that your foot's hurting. And so maybe we need to be done for the day. You can go down and do like some basics on the line beam. You can do dance throughs. You can go do some core conditioning, whatever. But like, sometimes I let them, because I'm just like, I've told them a million times that they can come talk to me. And I appreciate the toughness. At the end of the day, I appreciate that, because that doesn't come, along all the time. A lot of kids aren't going to try to push through it. So I admire that, but I also need you to be competing, and I don't want you to be hurting. So, kind of allowing for that. Please come talk to me. Or they'll say, hey, I have a lot of kids that just with series on beam. They're my older, level 10s. They've had a flick lay since they were 10, they do 3 a day. On some days they do 1, and it's usually doesn't affect them, but they won't finish a season if they do more than that. Other kids can do 1 million and it just doesn't. So kind of having that understanding, if they don't abuse the rule, like sometimes a kid will, again, they'll make not a bad choice, but a choice where they're skipping things in their routine. And I'll say, I wouldn't put it past me that I'd forget, but hey, what's up? Why aren't we doing dismounts? You didn't do any today. Oh, well, like, my wrist is hurting. And I'm like, you need to talk to me. You need to come talk to me. You don't just take things out. I appreciate that you're not working through pain, but that's the hardest skill for you. And, maybe we can go to the tramp and do some to a stick or do something else, but, don't just take it out. So them learning that, and that I do see that, like, I usually don't, miss that stuff. So just them being comfortable talking to me, and, understanding I'm not going to be mad. I might be frustrated. I might be not at you, but with the situation. But I try not to show that. I try to go like, it's fine, not a big deal. It's just 1 day, back to like that. It is just 1 day. It's just 1 day where we're not doing it. Or if it's 1 week, we don't have a meet this week, it's fine if we rest. So yeah, that's communication is the only way I know how. Like the more information I know, the better. And I encourage people to do that as they coach, and gymnasts need to do that. That all they can do is try. Like all they can do is ask.
Yeah.
So
that's probably the one thing I teach most kids who are struggling with fear, is that you have to speak. You have to, and I think they go from this place of, well, I don't know. I don't know what I need. I don't know what's wrong. And coach says, what's wrong? They say, I don't know. And so this communication kind of wall gets built, and the kid goes, I don't know what to say. I don't know what I need. I just know I can't. And then coaches who are frustrated are like, well, why can't you? I don't know how to help you if you don't talk to me. So how do you help someone in a situation like that, where they're obviously scared? They don't know why or what is happening. What are some suggestions you can give coaches and maybe athletes too, of how to create a constructive moment of conversation when that's happening?
I would just move them down, like to a lower beam, or go to the tramp, or I know even mid-season, like I would do that. I would try to avoid that. As far as in your gym, not if you see it, we have, it's kind of an unwritten rule, but a kid that's standing there up on the beam, just standing, trying to do something, it's not that it's not allowed, but like, hey, go back down to low, make 5, like not the end of the world. It sucks. It sucks like that they've made all this progress and then they have to go back down, but it's a waste of time to stand up on the high beam. It's a waste of time for you. It's a waste of time for the team who is trying to get a turn up there. So from the beginning, from compulsory, we kind of have a rule where, if they're up on the beam, or it's usually beam, it's usually beam, sometimes bars. But it's, hey, let's go back down. We have this many weeks till we need to start routines. Let's come up with a plan. Let's do this many a day, and then let's come up to this beam that day, and then let's do one on high beam that week, and then or hey, pick a day. I need you to pick a day. Let's look at the calendar in the next 3 weeks where you're going to try it on high. Not do the thing that sometimes they're scared about is the whole assignment. They're fine doing one, but they don't want to do the 5 in a row, or they think like, if I get it, then I'm going to have to. It's like, yeah, you're going to have to try to do that skill. You're going to have to try to make the assignment, because it's the assignment, and that's how you get consistent. But just, you might have to individualize the plan. You might have to say, for this kid, them just doing it is great. I wish that they were doing all the numbers, but it is what it is. And maybe they don't compete that event. Maybe they don't, and they, our girls know, like, they need to be doing trying for the full assignment for 2 weeks in advance. And if it's safe, they compete. If they haven't even been doing it, which is fine, they can't. But I would just say, as far as like the coach, I wouldn't allow them to stand up on the high beam and just stand there. I would bring them back down where the kid feels safe, do twice as many numbers down there if their body allows it. And, doing that for a while, but trying to avoid it from the beginning, trying to avoid that in your gym from the beginning, to not allow, if they're scared, move them back down. I do have a couple of kids that struggle. I have a level 10 that has struggled daily since level 5. Just every day is a battle, like, for her. And we've gotten into it, we've had our times. I kind of learned, like, she's going to do what she's going to do. And I kind of had to be like, for a while, I need you to do 5 series before the next meet, put something on it, not the same as everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
And then, try to build it. But even if she's there, like, last minute of practice the day before the meet doing 5, she did what I asked. It's not ideal. I don't like it. I don't, love that I'm going to go into a meet and she might make it, she might not. But she's gotten so much better, and she's finally just feeling a lot better about herself and doing well in competition. And it's so fun to watch how, and again, every day is hard. Every single day is hard for her on beam. She comes to beam, she's nervous, but she's, figured out a way to get it done. She uses her teammates, asks certain teammates to, watch it, asks, hey, can you watch this or whatever, but she's figuring out a way. And I couldn't have imagined it. I just thought, oh, we'll never be good on beam if we compete it. And now she's a solid all-arounder. It's super fun to watch.
Oh, I love that. I think that can give a lot of hope to the level 5 who is struggling with getting, going backwards on beam. It's like Sam Pescic and Kyla Ross, both of them got stuck on beam with fear in level 5. And
yeah,
Sam Pescic was scared her whole career on beam, and yet she's the one who goes to the Olympics on beam because she did so many numbers, backing it up, just like you said.
Yeah.
And that's the key. And I think you keep it pretty low drama. That's what I'm always encouraging, is that it's just math. You just need to get enough confidence in the piggy bank that it's going to click and it's going to work. And you either do that by 50 on the low beam or 30 on the medium beam, or all of it together. And like, you're going to get to the place where it's going to click, but you just got to do what you can and get a win. And if your win today is 3 on low beam, okay, it's better than standing around balking on high beam and just devouring, like killing your confidence basically by standing there feeling hopeless.
Yeah. And I really respect the coaches that are super rigid about their assignments. Like, I wish I was a perfectionist because I'd be a way better coach, but I see just some coaches like, I'm not going to allow them to compete because it's not good yet. I appreciate that. I appreciate coaches that are like that, but I'm also like, not every kid is going to fit into what you think, in January or February, where they need to be right now. It's just not going to happen. I'm sorry, but like not every kid is going to be that way. And it just, for me, I'm fine individualizing it. They don't want to be doing it. They don't want to be different than the other girls at all. They want to be doing it. They don't come to gym wanting to have this bad day. So it's just, or not even bad day, but struggle. So just making it okay. There are times that I do get upset, but it's mainly about like, you're crying, you're not throwing a fit, but just like anytime you fall, not even on your series, like the attitude, I don't love that. Like, we are not going to do that. If you don't do your series, whatever, but don't bring the rest of your day down or the rest of the group down because you're having a bad day, and that no one's perfect. So I don't expect everyone to have a good day all the time, but just teaching them like, how am I going to respond to this? And sometimes she'll come to me, it's usually a Monday, and she'll be like, I know I'm not going to do it today. And I'll be like, okay, go to the road beam, go to the laser beam, do 5. I need a good day tomorrow. She's old enough now. I need a good day tomorrow. Let's do it tomorrow. Okay. And then if she does, not the end of the world if a Monday was bad. So.
Yeah, just to have the collaboration. And I think you say, you'd be a better coach if you were more of a perfectionist, but it, I mean, it depends on how you define success, really. Because if that girl who gets to be a level 10, who can come to you and be honest, can have a great season as a result of all of your individualizing and of you saying yes more often and you not expecting and demanding robots, if that girl gets to have that success as a result, I don't think you could be a better coach. It sounds like you nailed it.
I'm trying.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's hard to do that. It's hard to go outside of the box. It's hard to when you have tons of kids, it's hard to individualize it, but I'm fine to do it if they meet me halfway.
Yes. And I think that's the key. It's like a lot of the time, coaches will put it all on the kid or the kid will put it all on the coaches, but it has to be a collaboration. It has to be so that everybody can keep the drama low, just focus on what's possible, get those wins. And you're climbing a mountain sometimes for 6 or 12 months, but then you
Or
eventually
longer.
or 5 years. But then
Yeah.
you get to the place where like that girl didn't give up. She
Mm-hmm.
didn't give up. And that to me is so impressive. I see parents were like, she's still struggling and it's been 5 years. And I'm like, that's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
What an amazing kid you have raised that has not given
Mm-hmm.
up,
Yeah,
although it
for
hasn't been
sure.
smooth. And she's not a robot. None of them are robots. So we can't expect, these little robo gymnasts to
Yeah. They're
just not, it's not
kids.
gonna, they're kids. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So I would love to chat just a little bit before we wrap up on how you continue to improve year over year. Because I know that's something that I really am drawn to about you is your humility. Where you go, I'm not an expert and I don't want to sound like I know everything and I'm still learning. And that's incredible because you have so much experience. So what are some things that you as a coaching staff or as a facility are doing to continue to improve, or even you personally year over year?
I think as a group, it's usually end of season and we go, what were the good things and what were the not so good things, and trying to implement just I used to think like, oh, I need to like change everything about like this gym does everything right and I don't, I visited a couple gyms, and, thankfully the coaches allowed me to come watch. And I just was like, "Ugh, we're never going to be like that. We're never going to be like that." Um, so trusting what you do as a base, I think, as long as it's, a good base or whatever, you have to start somewhere. And then just, I think a few years ago, I just thought our flexibility isn't great, or it still isn't awesome, but our leaps, like, we don't, we get to level 9 and they take forever to get a, a C to C leap pass. How can we figure out a way where that doesn't happen? So starting, this isn't rocket science. It's just, you figure it out by, in level 6, when we do our verification, we need to make sure they can do a progression on the tramp for a switch side, switch half tourgite, and like a popa or a wolf full. Like, they know how to do all of them. And then each level they have a verification to kind of build that. And it's not even really for the kid, it's for the coach to be accountable to teach that. That helped a lot. Small things like that aren't that hard to implement. Or we really need to work on our artistry. You know, twice a week last year, I was just like, you know what? I hate spending time I love coaching tumbling. It's like the best thing ever. It's so much fun. But I don't love working dance. Like, it's fine, but it's not my favorite. And so I implemented two days of warm up, just in our open warm up with all the levels, just like dance across the floor and expression, and the kids coming up with dances. And, it was something small where those days we weren't really doing a big warm up anyway. Like, Friday we were playing a game to warm up, and Wednesday we were like, it wasn't like a plyo warm up or like a cardio warm up. It was just something where I'm like, you know what? This is our game, like, and I don't really have to do it during my workout time, and the kids think it's the best thing ever. So just like small things, or like, hey, I don't feel our shapes on bars, that's normally our best thing. I didn't feel like this year we stood out in that way. I think we can do more. What can you do on bars, like, daily, to help those shapes, coming together as a group and being like, this is what needs to be better, and all buying into it, and all making sure that those things happen. And just small things. I think, I don't know if anyone's read Atomic Habits, but just like the smallest thing daily can go such a long way, either up or down. So it's like, if kids are getting to beam and we have a whole stretching, they stretch for 4 to 5 minutes, stretch kicks, it's not that much, but if they're doing it wrong, it's just going to go. If they're doing it even a little bit wrong, if they're kicking back and they're bending their leg, guess what their switch leap is going to look like? So just like making sure that if you are doing small things each day, it goes in the right direction. So just adding that. And I feel like personally or individually as a coach, just making sure that I'm well enough, like, mentally and everything, to be calm and do the best job I can, and coming in with a purpose and a plan, making sure my assignments are set, making sure I know what's going to happen that day. Maybe I'm not feeling great or having a hard time at home, not bringing that into the gym the best way possible. We all have bad days, but doing that, I think I started reading books. Tabitha Yim gave me this book a long time. Had to have been like almost 10 years ago. She told me to read Mindset by Carol Dweck, I think. And it changed, like, she just was like, I think you need to read this, and then I read it, and it changed, the way everything. And then I just started reading, not all the time, but I read this book called Grit, by Angela Duckworth, I believe. That book honestly changed my life and how I look at kids and talent and effort, and really what I'm going to focus on as a coach. And I do think as a young coach, I focused on talent a lot, and it's exciting, but it's like, that kid's 4. I have no idea. Like, I have a 4-year-old. I every day she's something different, it is the rare kid that can be that focused at a young age and make it all the way through. But I think just making sure the kids love gymnastics, and kind of hoping that you correct it all and you try to be the best technical coach there is, from rec up. But also, like, to keep our jobs, we need to keep kids in the gym, and to keep kids in the gym, we need to make sure that they're happy and loving what they're doing. So I think that's the most important thing, is getting them from a very young age just to love being in the gym. And then, it'll be what it will be. And a lot of parents just like, they're not getting this, they're not getting this. And I'm just like, they're so young. And really, like, I'll do a private lesson with the younger, lower level kid, and the parents just so worried about the progress. And I'm like, I see it every week. I only see him once a week, once a month. I'm like, I see it. And it might be in their confidence, it might be in their skill, but just trusting that it will get better over time. No gym is perfect. No coaching staff is perfect. I feel like there's a lot of turnover, especially in like the lower levels, which is really hard. But finding people that first will treat the kids really well, and, hold them accountable for what you're asking them to do, which is really hard to do with young kids. I'm not good at it. I'm not good with the younger kids, because I give them choices and they're like, like, they walk all over me. But I think just finding people that really do treat the kids well, and then train your staff as technically sound as you can. But also, you need to learn as a young coach, like, or a new coach, like, what works. And you're not going to find out in a month or a year. It's going to be like years and years. Every year passes and you figure it out. You can't learn it in 1 year or think one drill is going to help. Do the drill for 6 months and see if it helps. Do the drill, and then if it doesn't, change it. But don't think one thing is going to, change something right away.
Yeah. Gosh, so many nuggets for any coaches out there. I'm sure this was so valuable. And also for parents, just to see what the experience is of, being a coach and having those tough situations where, someone's out sick, or there has to be a decision made, or are we competing? Are we not? I think it's really important to kind of give that window in. And I really appreciate how you clearly put the humans first without sacrificing the excellence. And I think that's, what I really, really appreciate about you, is that we can demonstrate that you can coach excellence and coach humans and allow kids to be happy, all in one, amorphous blob of attempts where, everybody's trying, everybody's human, but I think you're doing a great job. So thank you so much for being with me today and for sharing your experience. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.